Good morning, everyone. Lee Henson here, president and founder of AgileDad, and it's time for today's edition of the Daily Stand-Up. Without any further ado, let's get started. I got approached with an interesting question, and it was based on an article that was recently posted on scrum.org. And the question was, how do I predict the end date of my Agile transformation? How do I know the end date? And it starts off with, somewhere between the 15th and the 45th minute of the first pre-sales call, the prospect always ends up asking, based on what you've heard about our company, by when do you think we will be 100% Agile transformed? And how much is that going to cost? And how many coaches is it going to require? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, here's the deal. I love the fact that, these people come right out of the gate with asking for a fixed date, fixed scope, and fixed price Agile transformation. But the truth is, it really depends on how ready you are. So I guess the question here becomes, instead of how to predict an end date for your Agile transformation, how willing are you to subject your organization to an assessment that will help you determine just how ready you really are? One of the things that I found is that most organizations that are asking you point blank right out of the gate on day one for, fixed scope, fixed budget, fixed time, and then they're asking you to do Agile, it becomes captain obvious that they don't really understand what Agile is all about. Whether it's a Scrum implementation or an extreme programming implementation or some hybrid implementation of different Agile frameworks, what you'll quickly discover is that the key to true business agility is the focus on continuous improvement, the focus on changing what we currently have to be better, the focus on identifying problems or issues, and once we identify those problems or issues, finding ways to improve those problems or issues. The other thing that I often find is that organizations often ask me right out of the gate, this is great, we'd love to do it, or we tried this one pilot team and we've seen success, so now we want to scale it to the whole organization at once. Can you bring in 25 coaches to help us do this? And while that sounds like a really good proposition from a coaching perspective to have 25 active coaches driving an organization, one of the things that we've quickly found at AgileDad is that that's not really what they're asking for is not really what they need. And I think between people trying to scale too quickly, between organizations trying to come in with a fixed mindset to have Agile results, and between organizations who really don't understand what Agile is or what Agile's going to do to help their company, we quickly discover that that's a trifecta of misery, and it's gonna cause people to fall off really, really fast. So, can you still fulfill this need or this proposal? The answer is yes. And what I often do is I will say, instead of me trying to predict the entire end of your Agile transformation and saying you're 100% here, I can tell you that organizations of similar size and scale with similar capabilities have taken in this range, and I can usually give people a pretty decent range, and I can estimate that with about 85% accuracy. If they ask me for an exact date, oftentimes I'll challenge them to do something along these lines. I'll get out the Gettysburg Address and ask them exactly how long will it take for them to read it, on what day and time will they be finished. And the truth is, no one can predict exactly how long it takes to read a book, or a speech in this case. No one can predict exactly when it's going to be finished. It doesn't matter how many words you read per minute even. Sometimes the content that you're reading is something that you enjoy and you can get through it faster. Sometimes the content that you're reading is something that you're struggling with and it takes a little longer. There's no true predictable answer. That's the same as trying to challenge someone who types 70 words per minute to start typing the elements of a periodic table. I guarantee you they're not going to do the same 70 words per minute that by title that they normally would if they were typing just normal words. If you take somebody outside of their comfort zone, the challenge is going to introduce new challenges. And with each new challenge comes an opportunity to inspect and adapt and change things up. And I think that's the key. People just don't understand that the whole empirical process control is what's going to make you successful or not successful. So instead of asking a question, when can my Agile Transformation end, the question would probably be better served, how soon can we get started? And I think the key to getting this successfully locked in, and this is something that most people don't consider, the real key is allowing for flexibility. What do I mean by that? Sometimes having someone there in a coaching position for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, sitting at a bench or at a workbench or at a cubicle or in an office, that's not going to answer the questions, nor is it going to solve the problem. Sometimes you need to have that person with a little bit of liberty and freedom. Oftentimes we'll put in, instead of having a full-time coach, we'll have a full-time coach initially, but we'll back out and give people a chance to explore and build their own internal Agile culture and center of excellence so that they can then have an opportunity to test the waters and to try things out and to see what works for their organization. Now, does this slow things down a little bit? You bet. But what we found is by slowing down just enough that it actually speeds things up in the long run. Because what's going to happen is through that discovery, the team is going to make the discovery instead of leaning on or relying on an Agile coach as a crutch to try to get that done. So here's my solution to this. Can you predict the end date of an Agile transformation? The answer is yes, you can. Is it a good idea? Probably not. I can tell you that your Agile transformation will be done, sometime before the millennium. I can tell you with some assurance that, Agile transformations usually take about X long. But the key here is how predictable can you be? And this only comes with practice and with experience and with a clear understanding of the organization and their willingness to adapt and to adopt change. And, I guess the crux here is, while this is a strong article, it's a short article, but it welcomes a question that we often get asked. And I think the solution is, just like we don't know how long it's going to take someone to read something or to type something that they're unfamiliar with, there's no super clear answer to exactly how long an Agile transformation is going to take. But I can assure you that with proper coaching and guidance, that's going to take a lot less time than it would normally take you. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Daily Stand-Up. As always, we encourage you to tune in where you can learn more about this or many other Agile topics. And if you haven't already told your friends, tell your friends about this podcast. There's lots of awesome things out there, and we encourage you, if you have ideas for the podcast, send those in to learnmore@agiledad.com. We'd love to hear your ideas and talk about them. On behalf of everyone at AgileDad, we hope you stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.